Welcome to the 2025 high school football season. I am Frank Wolf. I'm joined by CARSON HEYEK today. We're going to give you a rundown from Monsignor Martin all the way down to Class D. We're going to detail as many football teams and programs as we can, mention a number of players and coaches, and we're ready to kick off the season here finally. It was a off season of it's going to be known as the year of the transfer because there had to be at least 24 transfers from Section 6 to Monsignor Martin, back and forth. Um, at one point, you couldn't even keep track of all the players that were taken off for a new opportunity somewhere else. But that's what this offseason really will be known for, the year of the transfers. Good or bad, we'll have to find out. We're going to find out in just a couple of weeks. But, Carson, you've been doing a fantastic job with Buffalo Sports Page and doing a thing for West New York athletics, especially last season in the Southern Tier for us.
Oh, yeah.
Former quarterback at Orchard Park High School,
Yes,
and we're
sir.
a pleasure to have him on board with us today. Timmy Gardner producing and editing this video for later. But why don't we get right into it? Why don't we start with Monsignor Martin? That's where a lot of the transfers certainly happened. A lot of kids thought maybe there's greener pastures over there. They're about to find out. Canisius, the defending champions of Monsignor Martin here. I believe they lost to Iona Prep at the end of the year last year in the championship overall, but went 3-0 in Monsignor Martin with two big wins over St. Francis and another one over St. Joe's, or however that played out. Either way, Canisius was your overall champion, Connolly Cup finalist, and winner was Elijah Kimball. Just setting records left and right, getting ready to probably leave with some school records this year. We already know that he's got a number of offers from schools all over the country. He's got an exciting future, and it all started at Canisius High School with Craig Krasansky, who joined that staff just a few years ago. He was a graduate, played football there, so many years at Will South, but now he's doing his thing at Canisius, and he's got the guys believing, and last year was a great season overall for them. Last few years have been really good for Canisius. Let's not kid ourselves.
Sure.
But Kimball gets a lot of the press, if you will, a lot of the coverage. And he deserves a lot of it. I like Amir Hernandez, too, the number 2 there, who probably would start on any other high school football team in Western New York if he wasn't at Canisius. Another elusive runner. I want to say he's already committed, to play at a school in Tennessee at the next level. But Canisius has done a fabulous job of creating depth. The coaching staff, one of the tops in the area. They've got a number of guys over there that have the guys on solid footing. They lost a tremendous player in Jaden Clark to graduation.
Yeah, he's very good.
Who I thought was the key piece last year. Obviously, Kimball, with what he can do on offense is great, but Clark settles that locker room down. I think if Canisius lost anything, it's that in the locker room, and you could probably speak to that your time at Orchard Park, how big it is for a program to have someone like a Jaden Clark in your locker room talking to the guys, getting them settled down before a big game or calming them down after a play that didn't go their way. I think they're going to lose that a little bit this year. He also lost a big lineman and Patrick Enright. So they have a number of transfers coming in, both sides of the ball. But I think if there's anything that Canisius lost, would be leadership. I don't think they lost a ton of talent. Most of that talent's coming back. They stabilized the running back position. The quarterback position returns. The same kid will be under center. They've got some competition there, which is good. What's your thoughts on what Canisius can do? Do you think they follow up with the same season they had last year?
Yeah, I mean, look, like you brought up a good point when you said talent doesn't always equate to leadership. So they have a ton of guys that are really talented. Obviously, you keep Elijah Kimball. Amir's quite the player as well. They get a few transfer guys. Jalen Hawkins is there. But you have the little bit of quarterback battle as well. So I think that's something that's really, really important, especially when you're looking for leadership. I think the number one position, someone that's played the position, has been around some guys. Like when you look for leadership, that directly starts at that quarterback position. And then obviously I think it's time. Like they got some guys returning that are very talented. Those guys also have to serve as leaders. If your best players aren't some of your best leaders on your team, like what does that really mean for you? Because when adversity strikes and you have a very difficult schedule like that Canisius always puts on display, that can ultimately hurt you. So I think for Canisius, it's about translating that talent into leadership, taking that next step, and having some guys really step up. I can see them having another really successful year. I mean, obviously we'll get to Franny's in a second. They had quite the offseason themselves, but Monsignor Martin, it's always difficult. So week after week, you're going to have to prove it. And I think Canisius, they're right up there as far as talent goes.
I definitely think they're up there as far as the talent goes. The leadership is what I'm going to be looking for throughout those first few weeks. So you're going to open up the season once again playing that team Scranton Prep. They went there last year and played and won. The Scranton Prep team that they're playing only lost 2 games last year. One of them to Canisius, and then the other one was an eventual state champion in
Great
Pennsylvania.
test.
So, Scranton Prep is a big test, and they're already going to have at least a game or 2 under their belts by the time they square off, and that's September 7th, the 2:00 game. It will be on Western New York Athletics, so you'll be able to catch Canisius week 1 at home, Stransky Field against Scranton Prep. They don't face a Monsignor Martin opponent until September 28th. Their arch rival, St. Joseph's, and that will be a game also hosted by Canisius. So that's on September 28th, a 2 p.m. game, also on Western New York Athletics. Moving on to St. Francis, they had a number of transfers come in this year. At first, it was Dom Cook Jr. from St. Joe's, leaves the Marauders. There was rumblings about not enough ball handling time. He wasn't getting enough touches. He goes to St. Francis. They bring in Tyrone Clark, who is, if not the number 2 running back in Western New York, he's 2A.
He's really good.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with the touches with Mr. Cook Jr. now with Tyrone in that backfield. I don't know how they're going to distribute that ball. Tons of talent at St. Francis coming in. Again, leadership. Where is it? Do they have the leaders to carry that team, not just through Monsignor Martin, but if they happen to go further, do they have the leadership capabilities? Is there someone in that room that stands out? I don't know if they have that or not. We're going to find out. Jerry Smith has been around the game for years. He's been there for decades. Is this his last hurrah there? I don't know. Certainly, it could be. I'm sure he wants to go out on top. He's got grandkids now. His sons are coaching all over the place. He's probably going to want to do some traveling. Steve O'Tremp is one of the top offensive coordinators.
Yes.
I'm sure he's ready to take over that program if Jerry's ready to go. But we'll have to wait and see. St. Francis, they have to go to Ohio for their first game. They're supposed to play some team, and they wimped out. So they got this other team from Ohio they're going to go see. Again, Tyrone Clark and Dom Cook Jr., the 2 big guys coming into the program. I know they got a young receiver from Lakeshore that transferred in. Not sure if he's a 4-year player at St. Francis or not. We'll have to wait and see. There's some talk there that he could be back at Lakeshore before too long. Is he a Jerry Smith, Monsignor Martin kid? We're going to find out. He's got good handlers over there that I can keep him on solid footing. It's Anderson is the kid's name, the wide receiver.
Mason Anderson, yes.
Very talented. A Section 6 coach told me over the summer that he's glad he went over there because they couldn't cover him. He says, we couldn't, and this is one of the top coaches in the area, we could not cover this kid. I'm elated to know that he's out of Section 6. So that tells you something right there. Again, what's going on at the quarterback position? They brought the kid in from Aquinas.
Yep.
Is he ready to lead St. Francis? I hear he's a bit of a leader. So maybe, is it tough to come into a locker room from out of the area and command that kind of respect on day one? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. My biggest issue with St. Francis, again, is the leadership. Someone is going to have to settle that locker room down because you've got 2 premier running backs coming into your program. They're both going to want the ball. And if one's not getting it enough, are we going to hear from loudmouths on the sideline saying, give that kid the ball? Give me the ball? How is Jerry Smith and his staff going to deal with that? Because it's going to come up. It's come up years, for the last couple of years. Is it going to continue? Mm-hmm. And if it does that team implode? We'll have to wait and see.
I think, again, it comes down to leadership. We had this discussion with Canisius. This is a really, really good problem to have if you are if you're a guy on the team and ultimately a coach. I mean, they have some help coming in, I believe, in the coaching staff, too, with Coach Benke, along with Dom Cook Sr. And I think James Patterson's also going to be doing some stuff for them this year, too. So for them, it's a really, really good problem to have.
Yep.
How do you get your guys the ball when you have some of the best playmakers in the area ultimately? And I think Trent Buttles, I think he's displayed that he definitely has a ton of talent. I believe he played both sides of the ball at one point too. So he's quite the athlete. So for me, it's just, I think if he can have some chemistry, get his foot under him and ultimately create some leadership, like you said, I think he does command some respect with the Division I offer. So for me, I think they have a ton of talent. Like you said, it's all about just getting guys the ball, keeping people happy. And when you have a coaching staff that's had some experience, obviously Jerry Smith, he's been there for a while now, one of the best in all of the area. So they just got to, I think they got to stay disciplined. Guys are going to make plays. They're going to have to battle through adversity. And ultimately, they can't beat themselves because they have one of the most talented rosters, if not the most talented roster in Western New York. So they're going to have to stay on task. Again, tough schedule in Monsignor Martin. But honestly, right now, I think they're my favorite to win Monsignor Martin.
These two teams, St. Francis and Canisius, will play at Canisius. It's a 2:00 game on October 5th. So that is the first time we will see Canisius and St. Francis go head-to-head this year. St. Joe's, Mike Corona is there. He's been there since 2019. He's got a couple of returning players, Stone Rozak for sure, and then David Amuka, who's I'm very excited about David. I think he's a great athlete, definitely a leader on that team, returning, tough as nails. And he was a finalist, I want to say, for a number of Western New York awards. I don't know if he was first team or second team, but Amuka was up there. I want to say first team.
Yeah, he was first team.
Art school. So, they've got that coming back. They got to look at the quarterback position. They got to transfer in from Albion. Is he good enough to help them move the ball? We'll have to wait and see. Owen Kaczynski's a pretty good target.
Yes.
Speedy. He's got good hands. I like the line. They've lost a number of linemen, but Max Dispenza's a guy that they're pretty excited about. And to anchor that line, Wyatt Garla is another one. And then this young kid, Peyton Kieran, who we know his dad, Mike, pretty well. He does the prep zone, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Real good guy. His son looked a beast. Is a beast. I saw him a couple times over the summer at camp, and then I saw him one time next to his dad. I can't remember where we saw him, but this guy was huge. So he put on a lot of muscle, and they'll be tough. I think they'll be tough up front. And they got a great coaching staff there. Yeah, you take a piece away like a Cook Jr., that's going to make life difficult for the offense, sure, but they're going to have to find a way to work around that, and maybe that's a blessing in disguise for them. You never know. We'll have to wait and see. Good coaching staff. They open up their season.
Cardinal Hayes, I believe.
Yes, so they're part of
Cardinal Hayes.
And then I think CBA, Syracuse, and Albany are playing in that same weekend. It's kind of a 2 games going on at the same. I think it's at CBA Albany is where both those games are being played. But they'll take on Cardinal Hayes, and last time I saw them, they were carrying a Monsignor Martin, Catholic State Championship off the field in Athol Springs. Last time I saw those guys, so they're pretty good.
Week 2, Jamestown too, I believe, if Max Preps is correct.
It is, yes. That's a game that'll be on Western New York Athletics. We'll be covering that game. We'll have our guys out there at St. Joe's. So we appreciate Brian Aiken allowing us to come down and do that game. So week 2, it's a rematch from last year. They did beat Jamestown 41-30.
Yes. So
we'll have to see how Jamestown responds to that one. We'll be talking a little bit more about Jamestown in depth as we carry on and we get into the double A's. But Mike Corona has done a fairly good job there at St. Joe's, at least building the program back up. He's a very loyal coach to his players. The guys that come out and battle week in, week out, put the time in, he's very loyal to them. And I think players love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Players love playing for him.
I have 2 really good buddies who I go to college with, and they went to St. Joe's. They played for him. And I talked to them last night to prepare a little bit, wanted to hear word around the league. And they said that this team is a little bit younger this year, but they have some guys that are really looking to step up, a lot of talent. And they could be a sneaky team. We've seen Joe's. They've been on the come up here lately. So what I heard is Brendan Keel is looking to be a quarterback this year for them this year. He's looked supposedly pretty decent in the offseason, some 7-on-7 stuff. So that sounds like they possibly have a guy there to take over. But again, St. Joe's, they've kind of been behind Franny's and Canisius as far as how we've been publicly viewed these past few years. But I think St. Joe's is a team that definitely can compete with these 2 teams, and Franny's and Canisius. So they're a team. They're my under the radar team for Monsignor Martin without a doubt this year.
Very well. Moving on to Timon. Timon, coached by Matt Weiser, former UB star. Weiser's runs a pretty good program over there. Took over for his buddy Licata. They're going to open up the season again out in Section 5. This time they're going to face Monroe, who was a state champion. They've got D1 players on the roster. I got a chance to see them in Cortland. They're extremely fast, and they were blowing everybody out of the water at the 7-on-7, except Southwestern Frewsburg, who they beat twice. But believe it or not, this team was just running all over everybody. Well-oiled machine over there. A lot of gifted players. They're gonna have. That's gonna be a tough one for Timon. Tough one for anybody. But they've got quarterback Dom Anzalone coming back, and the problem there is he missed all of last year. He went out to Aquinas. They played their game there and didn't make. I think it was Aquinas who they played week 1. Didn't make it through the game. Was knocked out for the season. I am told a number of quarterback coaches in the area said Dom Anzalone throws the best ball of all quarterbacks. They say he throws a great ball. But is he back recovered completely? That's going to be the question mark there. But when you have a quarterback like Dom, he can do a lot for you. I mean, it gives you confidence coming out of that locker room to take on whoever you're playing that week. So that should be enough to help those kids at least have something going into week 1. They start their season again at Monroe. I'm not sure when their first game is against a Western New York opponent, but either way, we're going to see a lot of time in that week 1 game against Monroe. It should be on Varsity Media. I think they do a lot of their streams out there, so you should be able to pick that one up if you're not heading out that way. What's your thoughts on a team like Timon, and what are your thoughts on Anzalone?
Well, earlier I touched on with Canisius about their quarterback and how when you look for leadership, you look at the quarterback position. Dom Anzalone, he's a guy that's been there he's a seasoned veteran now. So that's a problem that they won't have to deal with. They have a guy, that's their quarterback. He's been there for a while. He knows the system, obviously coming back from an injury. But you brought up, as somebody that's trained with Dom in the past, he throws an amazing ball. He's a guy with good mechanics, a little bit of a 3/4 arm slot type of guy, which I like. And he's a pretty good athlete too. So I think Dom's going to be one of your top quarterbacks this year in all of Western New York. One of the top ones in Monsignor Martin, no doubt about it. So I think for Timon, if they're gonna take that next step this year and continue their trajectory, he's going to be the most important part ultimately at the quarterback position. And then another guy I'm looking out for is Christian Fulgham at wide receiver. He's got some good things going on, high reputation with him. So I think those two guys are definitely in line for a big year, and Timon's definitely a team to keep an eye out for.
St. Mary's of Lancaster. Anthony Zito returns for his 3rd season. There's a couple of guys there that you need to know about if you didn't hear us talking about them last year. Israel Wilson is a special team stud, pretty good wide receiver as well. And then Luke Nowak, I believe that's the quarterback there. Either way, Israel Wilson is the guy there to keep your eyes on this year. He's super fast. Returned a few punts and kickoffs last year, so he's definitely a quick star player. Also plays basketball. But Isaiah Wilson's a guy you're going to want to keep your eye on this year if you're watching St. Mary's of Lancaster. Good luck to them. And they play mostly a Section 6 schedule, a couple of 5 teams in there. They do open their season on the road at Western New York Maritime on Thursday night, 7 p.m. I'm not sure if that game isn't being televised anywhere, but that game will be happening Thursday night as part of opening night for high school football here in Western New York. Anthony Zito, again, 3rd year. I believe he's a Lancaster grad. Took over that program from Matt Ash not long ago. Not a whole lot of players there to work with. It's a smaller pool, so they're going to have to do a good job of building that program back up and getting the numbers there. And it's the same story with Cardinal O'Hara, numbers. Sean Mangold has been there for 5 years now. He's a public school Ken West grad, was a quarterback there. He's a real tough guy. I love Sean. Great coach. It's tough. It's a tough program to build. This is a team that, years ago under Ann Chandra, they had the players, they had the luxury of kids wanting to come there to play football. It's now more of a basketball school, especially with what Nick O'Neill's done there with the girls program and Marcus Harris do a great job. And I think they kind of lost sight of, the football program there as a whole. And Sean's been doing as much as he can to help build that back up. What I have, and I know they've done some upgrades there, especially the field. The field wasn't great. They've done some upgrades over there and trying to build that program back up. They do have some players there that we're going to have to talk about. Richie Brown, Peyton Gregson, Eli Cheney are some of the guys on that Hawks team that they're going to look to for some leadership. But with the closing of some of those Catholic schools in Niagara County, you would think you got to pass O'Hara to get to Canisius and Joe's. And if you're going to go play at Canisius for games, it's another half-hour drive.
Yes.
Go to O'Hara. That's a place where you can play. It's a Monsignor school. You're going to get film there. You should have a quality schedule. But teams or those schools that closed up in Niagara County, I can't believe they're driving all the way to Canisius and Brandy's or whatever when you could be playing at O'Hara. But that goes to the school, and that's way before Sean got there. That's not on him at all. But the program, the school has to believe in that program for them to thrive. Same thing with St. Mary's. The school has to believe in the football program, and once they do that, those schools will again be on par with the Canisius and the St. Francis. I feel they can be if they just put the resources in the right spots. If they had lights at O'Hara, my goodness, you drive down the 290 and you look off to your right and you see that school there. If they had lights there playing Friday night games, that would be very exciting, I think, for a lot of high school athletes. So who knows what happens, what the future is there. Again, with St. Mary's and O'Hara, these schools can't play for Monsignor Martin championships. So it hurts, absolutely. Why would you go there if you can't play for a championship? That's what you step on the field to do. You want to play for a championship. And if you can't play for a championship, then what are we doing?
Significant, yeah, for sure.
So good luck to those guys, though. O'Hara, I believe they start their year at home on Saturday, opening week versus Section 5 Holly. Good luck to O'Hara, the Hawks this year, and St. Mary's of Lancaster. Running down Monsignor Martin, it'll be, I think, a toss-up between Franny's and Canisius.
Agreed.
And I think somewhere it's a toss-up for that number 3 team, whether it's Joe's or Timon this year. We'll have to wait and see. I think Joe's has the leadership and Timon has the leadership. I don't know about Franny's and Canisius, who's going to emerge in that locker room this is my team. We're going to play this way, and we're going to keep the noise level down. Someone in those 2 locker rooms is going to have to step up this year. And who's going to be the Jane Clark of Canisius, right?
For sure.
That's what they're looking for. That's what they're going to have to find out. They're going to have to find that calming voice in the locker room. I think it's a toss-up between Franny's and Canisius. I couldn't tell you who's better than the other. Both teams have upgraded tremendously on both sides of the ball. It's going to come down to the team who believes in themselves the most and as a team as opposed to individuals. So best of luck to all those Monsignor Martin teams this year. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Class AA after a word from our sponsors.